Welcome to our podcast, I Never Lied, the Shelly Ann story. I will speak openly and honestly without fear of judgment or retaliation. I live in the city of Lloyminster. These are the famous border markers that separate the province of Saskatchewan and province of Alberta. You have to choose which province you want to live in. It is one or the other. To me, and in relation to this podcast, these border markers represent the idea that when it comes to childhood trauma and abuse, you must pick a side. On one side, you can choose to remain silent, believe this is a taboo subject, and not get involved. Or you can step on the other side and reach out to others, either to help or to get help. Just like the border markers, this is one area that you cannot live on the fence. If you try to, you will eventually fall off. In this series of podcasts, I'm hoping to educate, inform, and inspire you to stand up against childhood trauma and abuse. And if you are a victim, I want you to know that you're not alone.
Everyone has broken pieces. No one is complete. There's no such thing as perfection. It's just not within reach. The puzzle inside is coming together, and I believe it's getting better. It's getting better.
Hi, and welcome to our podcast. Today, I've invited my son to join me to ask him some questions and have him share some of his experiences as a child and how those experiences affected his life today. Hi, Cam. Thanks for coming. I guess we're going to dive right in. So for me, I have to ask the hard questions about what do you think age you were, your earliest memories
Of
growing up?
lots of faint memories, like different places we've lived. I don't think I have any solid timeline memories, but I have like little bits from kind of everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, do you remember when you were little, living with my mother?
Yes.
Okay. So can you share a little bit about that experience? And
The memories I have now of it, I don't know, it gets kind of jumbled because later on in life there was summers spent with her as well. Like when she ran the one apartment building and there was a pool table in the office and I played pool all summer, or there was a playground across the street that had basketball nets. Yeah. I don't really have too many memories of spending time with her because I don't know, I think in my mind the memories with her don't have any value.
Okay.
So they kind of just fade away.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know as we get older, things change in our memories too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that I was a pretty heavy drinker when you were young. So I just want to know what you remember, and has that affected you at all?
I think my memory of it would be like the morning afters. If there was a party, just what the house would look like, or with you and Dad when you guys were fighting, the remnants of it, you know.
Okay.
The time there was a chair in the wall. You know.
Right?
Yeah. You were fairly good at hiding us from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Weren't really exposed to a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there was one house before we moved in with Dad, and I remember me and Amy slept upstairs, and it had the stairs that went up and then the railing that went around, and it was like just almost like an open attic with a hardwood floor. And I remember a couple times coming down from there and just seeing you'd had a party after work or whatever. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you speak of Dad, you're talking about my husband now,
Yes.
right? And he's been in our lives for 30 years.
Yeah.
But you know I was married twice before that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember anything about those two husbands? And how did it affect you having dads come in and then leave the picture?
I have no memory of your one husband. I was too young. Your second husband, there's little bits and pieces. I remember kind of what he looked like. I remember the apartment that we had with him that got broken into. Just little bits and pieces, but like at my age now, they have literally zero effect. Zero, yeah.
Having seen your mom have multiple relationships and marriages when you were young, how has that affected you now in relationships of your own?
I'm not sure if it had any effect. If I look at it now and try and give it a how it would affect me, I think Dad, you were looking to be loved, but I think you were always looking to be loved, and yeah, you didn't settle. And I don't know if those relationships would really have any effect on me, because the one, looking back, we know you were being used for a green card. The other one was, I have no memory of it, so yeah. I think in view of relationships, your relationship history is just my father and Dad, that they have effect on me.
I know that there were so many times when you were little that if I got angry with somebody in my family or hurt by them, I would want to completely avoid them. But at the same time, I would try and turn you and your sister against them as well. How do you think that has affected relationships with family members now?
I think very little. I think I figured out at a very young age that some people, whether they're blood or not, is just wasted energy.
Okay.
And if you're wasted energy, I'm not going to bother.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have no regrets with not having those
None.
relationships?
None. I don't know what it would add to my life to try and have connections with some of those people. My own family as well. It's, yeah.
Right.
I have no regrets on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that there were a lot of things that I told you about my childhood probably way before you were ever old enough or capable of understanding. But I want to know if you remember when my stepfather moved to our town and I said we had to leave. Very quickly, we packed up the house, we sold it, we moved. How did that affect you? I mean, my life was completely encased by trauma and fear. There had to have been an effect to you somehow.
I think because of my own experiences, I understood and was forced to grow up a lot faster. So it wasn't as difficult for me to understand what we were running from. So I don't think it made any sort of a change, because I understood.
Right.
I understood what we had to get away from. I understood why we had to hide. And I think I was at old enough age that it wasn't confusing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So in my life, I see you as not just my son, but my best friend. And there's lots of times that I come to you for advice or get your opinion on a subject. And I do that because I trust you. I don't believe you'll ever steer me wrong. My question is, how did you ever get so smart? I mean, you always know exactly what to say to me.
Just always being open to learning new things, we were never, like, even when you look at religion, you taught us at a young age, like, go and figure it out for yourself. I'll take you to whatever church you want, whatever service you want. You can go with Our one aunt was Jehovah's Witness. We could go to that. We could go to whatever. I think being taught to be open to all things made it easier to figure out how to find the right answers.
Did you ever see that as my inability to lead you?
No.
No?
No. Even you were just always open to everything and like never shied us away from anything. We had the one babysitter that was Auntie so and so that turned into Uncle so and so, and it was never brought up as a, oh well, you know.
Yeah.
It was just, okay, this person feels this way and now they're this way, and we're fine with that. It's not a big deal. It was never something that should be seen out of the ordinary. So it wasn't a lack of leadership. It was more open to all things. Even with your second husband and his different religious beliefs and background because of where he was from, we were just taught to be open to all of it. Yeah. Same with our heritage and our background. We were just open.
Right.
Yeah. It was never really a lack of leadership. It was just a willingness to explore things from all perspectives.
Okay. You grew up watching me chase my mother for love and approval. So how did you see that, and how has that affected you?
Weakness.
On my part?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I grew up really fast, I was able to see that it was a carrot on a stick. You're chasing it, but you're never going to get it. And I was able to see that for what it was, and see the kind of person she is. And one of the things I learned from it is to never let myself be like that, and not let anyone have that kind of power over me.
So do you see that as making you hard or just honest?
I don't know if there's much of a difference. Typically, if you're honest with people, and I'm probably more of a direct or blunt person, so I think people would view me as hard no matter what. But I think you have to be a little hard to be honest.
Right.
So I'm probably both.
Because I have always looked up to you, to your ability to go, yeah, no, I'm done. Where I couldn't do that, right? So that's the biggest question, I guess, is how did you learn to just say, okay, no, I'm done?
I have what I need. I've never had to chase love. I have had an abundance of love my entire life from day one. I've never had to question it. I've never had to chase love my entire life. I always had it.
Right.
You've told me since the minute you met me, we're best friends, we're going to be best friends for the rest of our lives.
The man of my life for the rest of my life.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've never had to chase it.
Right.
So nobody's going to love me more. So
No.
why would I try and chase from people that are going to give me less?
Right.
If they're not worth it, they're not worth it.
So looking at my life in comparison to then and now,
Mhm.
and the changeover process, what have you seen in me to be the biggest changes?
Confidence. It's probably the biggest one. A great quote that I really like is, you now, and this is one of the ways that I've always lived, is you now go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And you kind of live your life that way now. Whereas before, you were always in circles that just tolerated you. They barely accepted your existence being there. Family gatherings, they were like, oh, she's here.
Right.
Now you have the ability to, if you're not celebrated, you don't want to be there. And I'm not just going to exist here, I'm going to make my presence known.
Right.
I would say the biggest change in you is confidence. Confidence in that, confidence in your strength to move forward on things, confidence in your ability to heal yourself, heal other people, confidence in being able to have a conversation like this, because 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't happen.
No. No, it wouldn't have. So where does that come from? You know, I always come to you because I know you're not going to blow me off with stupid sayings. You're very thoughtful in what you say and how you say it. And where did that come from? Where did that drive come from?
Which drive?
To be your own man, to do it your way, to say it your way, but to say it with knowledge.
I think that came from seeing the weaknesses you had and not wanting to have those, and then also seeing the shady, devious maliceness of the people you always had around you, because we don't come from the most upstanding people.
No.
Not that anybody's perfect, but there was always ulterior motive and just some BS in the background that just people had, or they wanted this from me, or they wanted that, or they were just being nice for this reason, or whatever. And just not wanting to have anything to do with that, and not wanting people to look at me in the same way that I looked at them. Like, this is why I'm here. You know why I'm here. You don't have to question it. This is why I'm doing this. This is, if I'm doing something for you just for the sake of doing it, it's just because I love you.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to ever, or anyone to ever question that. If I, just anything that you do good, I don't want anyone to associate me with how I looked at the people that were always around us. I don't want to be that.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things you told me, which really had an impact in helping me change my life around, was that you said, Mom, things happen to you. They're not happening now. It's such a simple statement, but it carried such a huge impact in my life. So I have to ask, where did you get that from?
Because I learned to deal with my own traumas. And I had to recognize in myself that it happened. It's not happening.
Right.
I learned that I can, it's like one of the terms I use at work. It's embrace the suck. There's other people that say it way better than me, like Jocko Willink, and it's be positive about everything. It's muddy out. Sweet. Anything that just gets worse, just embrace it. Just keep trudging forward. You can't stop me.
Right. Because every step forward is a step forward. It's moving.
A step past.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I come to you for advice. There's something going on or a situation I'm in that I'm not really sure what to do. And I trust you because you won't steer me wrong. But I have to admit that sometimes I get a little bit angry because you're not saying what I think you should say to me. You're not saying anything to just appease me. But I do want to tell you that there's times that I just walk away from it and roll it over in my head. And then eventually, or at least 95% of the time, I can incorporate what you've told me into my actions for the next time the situation comes around. So I guess I'm not sure how our open and honest relationship came about.
I think we have that ability with each other because not a lot of other people are willing to be that honest with us. Because I think most other people, dad, friends, whoever, aren't willing to step into that harsh role, or hard, as you said, and give the whole blunt, honest truth of what you or I may be doing or saying in that moment that we're not recognizing.
It's funny because people always say to me, why do you tell your kids everything? To be honest, it's because I know that my kids always want the best for me. And so if I go to them with something, they're going to give me the best answer that I need. When you guys were young, I always admitted to you if I made a mistake or if I was wrong or I just didn't know something. And I always was never afraid to apologize to you. I did that so that hopefully you guys could come to me when you had a problem, and you would know that I would be there for you and I wouldn't judge it.
That's that ability. It's not something I ever had to learn because we've just always talked since day one.
Well, and something that I always tell people is I never judged my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you judge me,
No.
right? And so you become a safe place.
Mm-hmm. And you've done the same for me.
Right.
I'm able to just come to you with anything.
Because you're my son.
Come on.
So a good point to bring up would be that when you were young, I was the most overprotective, overbearing mother bear that ever walked this earth. If I thought somebody was hurting you or your sister or targeting you for anything, I went absolutely insane. I would dive in and just go for it. I needed to protect you at all cost.
I don't think it had a negative effect on me, but that's also because I reacted the same way. Like, yeah, even with like my girlfriend or my dogs, like everybody knows what would happen if you mess with them. What would happen if somebody messes with you? And there's been situations in the past where I have to step in and deal with things, and I don't think I've ever viewed it bad because it's, what does the tattoo on my chest say? It's the truly loving someone gives you the strength to be courageous.
Right.
And it's, you showed me that the same way I treat things now with people that I love, I'll tear down a mountain, I'll take on an army, doesn't matter, I got you.
Right.
And you always showed me that. No matter what happened, no matter what I was facing, you were always in my corner, and I knew you were either standing right beside me or you're stepping in front of me to take whatever that is on.
Right.
It never had a bad effect.
Right.
Yeah, you're a bit haywire, but
Well, yeah.
it's probably where I get it from.
So knowing that I would go absolutely overboard on the situation, did it ever make you afraid to come and tell me something?
No,
No?
because you didn't react negatively towards me.
No, never.
It's maybe it made me thoughtful in how I told you, because I didn't want you to overreact on something that I didn't see as something that needed an overreaction. So I would be more just thoughtful in the way I vocalized it to you, or told you, or the moment I told you. You know, I was never a run home cry wolf. You know.
Right. One of the greatest joys I have in my life today is that I tell people all the time, hey, my son is 240 pounds and don't mess with my mama. And
Yeah.
it makes me feel secure.
Yeah.
I know at any moment's notice that if I'm in trouble or I'm being hurt, my son's going to help me.
Oh yeah.
How did it make you feel growing up in an environment where I would fight with my life for you and your sister, but then I couldn't stand up for myself and I couldn't fight for myself?
You taught me to have strengths where you had weaknesses. It taught me to make myself into a person that you couldn't hurt. That I didn't want anyone to have the ability to put me in that kind of position where I wouldn't be able to fight for my own life. So it taught me to be stronger. Because I viewed it as a weakness, and I didn't want to have that weakness.
Okay. Do you think there could have been more of a balance in teaching you that? Or, because I didn't teach you that, this is something I believe you taught yourself.
I learned from observing you. And because it's not something you set out to try and teach me, I don't think there's any better way to. Yeah, I feel like I have a pretty good balance in my life. The people in my life that know that I love them know that, like, I go to the ends of the earth, or, you know, my friends, even if I haven't talked to them in a few months or however long, they know that I'm there for them because that's the kind of bonds I create. Yeah.
And it makes you stronger for it.
Yeah. And it makes those bonds stronger.
And do you think it makes a little bit of a security too? Protecting yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Big time.
Yeah.
Not wanting anyone to have that kind of power over me. Yeah.
Right. Well, because that power is damaging, right?
Yeah.
Truth is, like you said to me one time, people only have the power if you give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And I think about that all the time in everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my son, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your voice. And never forget, I love you now, forever, and always.
Thank you.